thou, O son of man, I have set thee a watchman unto the house of Israel. Therefore, thou shalt hear the word of my mouth, and warn them from me.
Have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather expose them.
Coming to you from an undisclosed location in Middle Tennessee and examining current events from a biblical perspective, this is Bible News Radio with your hosts, Randall and Stacy Harp.
And we are, as a people,
hello, people,
inherently and historically
welcome to the show.
opposed to secret societies.
This is Band of
to
Patriots.
secret oaths,
Yeah, it is.
and to secret proceedings. For
Enjoy
we are
the song.
opposed around the world by a monolithic and ruthless conspiracy
Yeah, we are.
that relies primarily on covert means for expanding its sphere of influence.
It was 1776.
All right, here's that, everybody, okay?
Signed the writ
You're going to love this show.
of independence from the Brits. It was revolution. Now an enemy from within would enslave us all
Hey,
again
Alice.
and deprive us of our rights.
Feel free to
in the
share us out on Facebook, too.
Constitution.
Periscope, wherever.
Restore the republic. Wake up, it's time to understand. Restore the republic. We're losing our freedom in the land.
Hi, Rachel. Diane.
Working from behind the scenes, controlling everything. From the daily news we read to the politicians.
Yeah, they are.
And they're pulling out financial strings.
Yeah, they are.
More powerful than kings. It's a central bank elites bringing our destruction.
True story.
Restore the republic. Wake up, it's time to make a stand. Restore the republic. We are the people and we can. Restore the republic. Pledge our allegiance to the flag. Restore the republic. We gotta take our freedom back. America, arise. It's time to open up our eyes and march back down the road to freedom.
That's right. So
If we
true.
look the other way, they'll take our rights away.
That's what they're trying to do.
So we the people must defeat them.
That's right. That's why they banned Alex Jones, you know. Just so you know.
Restore the republic.
They don't want people to know what's going on. But you know what? We do. We know what's going on. Well, do we really? I don't want to play the whole song. If you like this song, though, it's called Restore the Republic by Band of Patriots.
Printing money till
Yeah.
shoving taxes down our throats.
Yeah, they are.
Bailing out banks we don't even own.
All right. Okay, so hey, happy Monday, everybody. This is Bible News Radio. I am your sweet and lovable host. Yes, I am, Stacy Lynn Harp. Yeah, some would say a slight conspiracy theorist. But, you know, what the elite are doing is like laid out right in front of us. It's just that, you know, you got to look at it. You're like, oh, did that really happen? Yeah, it did. So just so you know, in case you're new to the show, because I actually had somebody ask me this today, and I thought I'd just make it clear right up front. If you're new to the show, I am Stacy Lynn Harp, your sweet and lovable host of Bible News Radio, and I am pro-life 100% in the cases of any type of conception. The baby should live, just so you know. I am pro-God marriage, the way that God made it, between one man and one woman only. No multiple partners, no same-sex partners, none of that stuff. I believe in God. I believe in Jesus Christ. I believe that Jesus is God, and he came down from heaven to earth to die in my place because of my wretched, awful sin, so that I could be free, just so you know. Yeah. And I do believe he's coming back. And I do believe that there's a spiritual war going on, people. And we need to be on top of it. We need to be aware as Christians of what's going on. And so Bible News Radio is a Christian worldview show, in case you're wondering. Occasionally we have guests on talking about these issues. But today what we're going to do, this is a special show, because Friday, on our Free for All Friday show, a whole bunch of people were saying, well, what's your opinion about the Kavanaugh thing? What is it? Okay, Kavanaugh, what's the situation? And then last night at church, my pastor came up to me and said, well, what do you think of the Kavanaugh thing? Like, oh my gosh. So here's the thing. I actually am going to share with you something that I don't think you're going to hear anywhere else. And the sources that I'm using in this show today, I trust them. Cliff Kincaid is a very well-respected person in the world of media, at least alternative media. I think the liberal media and the deep state media don't like him. But what we're going to do is we're going to share with you a video that he did on his own show that he has. You can watch the whole thing. I don't know if we're going to get to watch the whole thing, but we're going to give you a little bit of taste of it after we look at some of the actual current news about Kavanaugh, what's going on with him. Okay, the one thing you need to know is that the liberal media is bred in circus. Okay, you might know what that is, right? Remember in the olden days when they threw Christians to the lions, you know, and people were just eating and watching Christians die because Rome didn't like them because they were opposing the government? Do you? It's the same thing, you guys. It's the same thing going on today. Whereas America is, I think, birthed of God and one of the most free countries for Christians in the world, I also think that America is a pretty reprobate nation as well. And I think that the church, by and large, needs to repent and come back to the Lord. Because the church has been, by and large, very ineffective when it comes to sharing the actual gospel of Jesus Christ that can set people free. And if you don't believe me, answer me why homosexual marriage and homosexuality is approved of in the church, okay? The Bible is very clear on that issue, and those churches are reprobate that do that, just so you know. That means they've fallen away. They're run by evildoers or apostates or people who are like, they don't care. They care about the opinion of men more than they do God. And so this morning, I was actually reading Randall Pendle Bareface, my producer, handsome hunky husband of 26 plus years. Randall instituted Bible reading in my house both day and night. So I was like, yes, okay, I will submit to you. Oh,
hey, it's biblical.
So,
right?
Yeah, anyway.
So many places in Scripture that talks about meditating day and night, and it talks about,
right,
telling about.
So, anyway, so we're in Isaiah now. We're reading through the book of Isaiah. And two verses stood out to me this morning in Isaiah, and I want to read this because they really stood out to me. And in the context of Isaiah, he's basically calling out, the leaders there because they've forgotten God, basically. But Isaiah chapter 3, verse 10 and 11 says this, and pay attention, okay? Or write it down and go memorize it. It's really good. Say to the righteous that it will go well with them, for they will eat the fruit of their actions. Yay! We all like that, right? You reap what you sow. The righteous will eat the fruit of their actions. Yeah, that's awesome. Okay. But then verse 11 says, woe to the wicked. It will go badly with him, for what he deserves will be done to him. Yeah, it will. So the wicked are going to reap what they sow as well. So I just point this out just in case, you're one of these people who's like, oh, I'm so sick of the evildoers winning, blah, blah. You know what? I think it's, Psalm 37 that says, don't fret because of evildoers. You guys, don't fret because of what's going on in Washington, D.C. It really doesn't matter all that much. It really doesn't. I know you think it does, and the media's making it out like it does, but it really doesn't, ultimately, in the end, really matter a whole lot to your life, actually. Not yet, anyway. So this thing with Kavanaugh is all over the news, right? Because you have the liberal media, which is run by the deep state, putting out the story, the narrative, having us all talk about it, blah, blah, whatever. And, it's the same old stuff. I mean, it's nothing new. In fact, I read this article, and I'm just going to say it's over at teaparty.org. Oh, I know. Sarah Palin would be proud. Anyway, teaparty.org. Democrat Kirsten Gillibrand, who leads charge against Judge Kavanaugh, was involved in at least 2 other sex assault hoaxes. So there's a big shocker, right? Because that's what everybody's talking about, right? So Gateway Pundit says New York Senator Kirsten Gillibrand is leading the charge against Supreme Court nominee Judge Brett Kavanaugh. Kavanaugh had 36-year-old sexual abuse charges hurled at him in the last week. Gillibrand believes Kavanaugh is guilty because he's not asking the FBI to investigate the evolving charges from 36 years ago. Kavanaugh vehemently denies the charges, as do the other 2 men mentioned by the accuser. Gillibrand also led the charge against the University of Virginia fraternity accused of rape by the Rolling Stone. The entire report ended up being a complete hoax. The Rolling Stone later agreed to pay the UVA fraternity $1.65 million for their discredited rape accusations. And now this. Senator Gillibrand brought, quote, mattress girl, unquote, to the State of the Union address in 2015. The Columbia University student who dragged a blue mattress around Columbia University's campus in 2014 to dramatize her plight as a rape victim was later discredited. Which really, you know what, and this ticks me off more than anything, when you have women who cry wolf and they cry rape, they cry sexual assault, it really does a disservice to those of us who actually were. And those women should be, let's say, slapped with a B in front of it, because that, to me, is the epitome of hating women, in my opinion. And I don't say that to be mean, but seriously, when a woman cries rape and it didn't happen, it hurts other women that it did happen to, and those women should be ashamed of themselves and really smacked upside the head. In Jesus' name, of course. The male student, Emma Sulkowicz, accused of raping her, was later found not responsible, and the university settled with him. And that goes to the issue of men, too. And there's actually a little movement, I don't know if you guys are aware of this, but there's a new movement out there that's, women of sons are starting to stand up because, hey, if a boy is accused of this stuff and they didn't do it, it can ruin their life, right? And that's not cool either. So these people need to knock it off because reputations can be ruined in an instant when things aren't true. So that's just the brief article there over on teaparty.org. Now, Alan Keyes, who I love and highly respect and really should get on the show, he's written another article. And this article was published yesterday over on renewamerica.com. In case you don't know who Alan Keyes is, he was a diplomat for America at one point. And an ambassador, actually, 'cause that's what a diplomat is, an ambassador. He ran for president. Randall and I actually proudly served on his campaign many years ago. Gosh, it's been a long time, actually. And I've actually had the blessing of meeting Alan Keyes in person, so that was really cool. But he writes here, Kavanaugh, Senate should vote forthwith. Alan Keyes notes judge's Sixth Amendment right to confront the accuser. The U.S. Senate should move ahead with the vote on Judge Brett Kavanaugh's nomination to the Supreme Court. Even if the accuser were willing to testify, the vote would be warranted. Today's reports suggest that she is not. This makes taking the vote even more appropriate. After extensive hearings and the release of an unprecedented flood of documents from Judge Kavanaugh's career on and off the bench, the timing of the accusation reeks like a bag of political dirty tricks. Duh. It's a bedrock principle of American law, explicitly reflected in the Constitution's Sixth Amendment, that the accused shall enjoy the right to be confronted with the witnesses against him. By the way, if you don't know, Alan Keyes is a constitutional expert, just so you know. But given circumstances that greatly affect the integrity of our constitutional and legal institutions, members of the U.S. Senate also have the right to look this particular witness in the eye to judge the sincerity of her long-postponed pursuit of justice. Government by character assassination in and of itself inevitably corrodes good administration. But when the selection of one of the highest positions in the government is at stake, such as an attempted assassination, is an attack done on the citizen body and on the Constitution authorized by their voice. As things stand, the accuser's unwillingness to testify sharpens the suspicion that such an attack is underway. The fact that an accuser can muster the courage to do so usually weighs at once in their favor. It makes sense that the failure to do so has to weigh against them. Moreover, their absence deprives both the accused and the grand jurors who must evaluate the charge, in this case the members of the U.S. Senate, of the opportunity to scrutinize or question the accuser. In effect, it prevents even a cursory test of possible truthfulness. Someone unwilling to bear witness cannot rightly demand that others believe what they are, in effect, unwilling personally to attest. Trial by second-hand character assassination thus undermines the jury system. For that system to function, human contact and evaluation are essential. Taken all in all, events so far raise a serious question about whether the person or persons making use of the accusation intended all along to attack the confirmation process, and if so, their actions amount to an attack on the Constitution itself, warranting the impeachment and removal of any sworn U.S. official involved in it. And why is this important? Because on the left, you have basically people who believe that the Constitution is this living and breathing document that you can pretend that it says stuff that it doesn't. You know, same liberal types that actually believe that you can read into the Bible stuff that's not there. Whereas opposed to those of us who actually read the Constitution and go, oh yeah, this is actually, we take it literally the way it's intended. You know, like I have free speech, I have the right to bear arms, you know, that type of stuff. You know, important stuff that the founders died for and fought for and all that. So anyway, Alan Keyes goes on to say, that may startle people who disregard the oath sworn by all who take up office under the United States. U.S. senators, for example, swear or affirm that they will, quote, support and defend the Constitution, unquote. Knowingly subverting the confirmation process by sponsoring spacious attacks on nominees self-evidently violates this oath. Senator Dianne Feinstein officially sponsored the accusation against Judge Brett Kavanaugh. If she did so without ascertaining the sincerity of the accuser and her willingness personally to bear witness to the truth of the accusation, it was a failure of due diligence. Yeah, but we know Dianne Feinstein is pretty much evil. I mean, you know, her and Nancy Pelosi, they have an interesting version of their faith. But Anyway, Alan Keyes goes on to say, but if she knew that the accuser was infirm in her resolve and would not confront the accused as due process requires, then bringing the accusation forward may have been a ploy intended to delay the constitutional process or break it down entirely. Be that as it may, and GOP leaders ought to ponder its implications seriously. It would be a serious breach of due process for senators to deprive Judge Kavanaugh of the opportunity to serve the nation on the strength of such an infirm accusation. Any senator willing to do so sacrifices the public good, especially when the accuser is unwilling to sacrifice in order to present the accusation in the manner constitutional justice requires. So in other words, put up or shut up if you're going to accuse. These days, demagogues encourage Americans to think of justice as an entitlement which they must simply demand. In fact, it is a responsibility which they must first of all choose to serve. Otherwise, under a government of, by, and for the people, justice is unlikely to exist. As with all God-endowed unalienable rights, action is necessary or right will not be done. The GOP offers Brett Kavanaugh's accuser the chance to testify. If she does, she might influence the vote on his nomination. Her failure to do so should likewise influence it. Don't you think? Either way, the nation as a whole deserves justice as well, a thought too often forgotten by the self-serving political leaders, so much in evidence in these parlous times. I don't know if he meant to say parlous or perilous, but either way, it fits. So here's the thing. Cliff Kincaid over at USA Survival has an online show that he does called America's Survival Incorporated. He's actually the president of America's Survival Incorporated. He's been a guest on our show a long time ago in the past. Anyway, he actually interviewed a guy called, he's an anti-corruption activist called Garland Favorato, about the deep state chess match being played by President Trump and Senate Democrats at the Kavanaugh confirmation hearing. And it's interesting because he writes here, the evidence suggests Trump knows Kavanaugh is a flawed nominee, but felt he would be acceptable to the Senate Democrats and the deep state. The plan went haywire when the sexual assault charge came into play. It has seriously backfired on Trump and the Republicans to the point where the polls now suggest that the Democrats will take the House and the Senate in November. The real issue, they argue, is Kavanaugh's role in the cover-up of the murder of former Clinton White House lawyer Vince Foster. Okay? So those of you who are as old as me, which is everybody for the most part, except for some of you, maybe 3 or 4 of you that tune in. By the way, the demographic of this show is like 65 and over, just so you guys know. You're all old. Sonny. You guys need dentures, huh? Maybe we should get some, old age sponsor like Geritol or something to... I say jesting in my last couple of weeks of being 49, just so you know. Okay, anyway, the most people in the audience, if you're as old as me, then you remember when Vince Foster was murdered by people associated with Hillary Clinton, but it was actually a suicide.
Yeah, I was going to say.
So in this video from Cliff Kincaid and this guy, what's his name? Garland Favorato. I'm not sure if I'm saying the name right here. Okay. They actually talk about that. And this is what this is about. And nobody, as you could probably figure, are actually talking about the whole Vince Foster thing and how Kavanaugh, the guy up for the Republican nominee for Supreme Court of America, is actually, got little sticky fingers there. And of course, Ken Starr, who everybody on the right, like Janet Parshall and all those guys, were touting was super great when he was in there as the attorney, during all of that investigation stuff, right? My nose itches again. Yeah, that was pretty, wasn't it? Anyway, so we're gonna go ahead. We're gonna play some of this for you, a couple minutes, maybe 15 minutes of it. It's like a half hour. We'll see if we can play the whole thing. But before we do, Bareface, do you want to say anything to everybody before we start?
Just say hello, and there's nothing new under the sun for all of us. For those of us who are as old as I am, you may remember the Clarence Thomas nomination proceedings.
And that's what they're doing,
It's, nothing new under the sun.
Well, it's not just Clarence Thomas, but it's also Judge Bork.
Yeah.
They did that to him.
Right.
And that's why there's even, what's it called, the adjective about borking or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So
this is not new. By the way, we should say hi to somebody. Hi, Darren and Kim and Jeremy, and I think Roshonda joined for a minute. I don't know if you're still there, Roshonda, but if you are, hi. My panelist at the Social Power Summit. Oh, by the way, I should give a shout out also to Dr. Ikena Finch, whose birthday is today. Happy birthday to her. Yeah, it is. It's a happy birthday. By the way, just a plug here. If you do not know Dr. Ikena Finch, you guys need to get on her email list, right? Today and tomorrow, she's selling Social Power tickets, Social Power Summit tickets, for $145, I think, for next year's Social Power Summit, down here in Nashville, Tennessee. It's a 2-day sale, just so you know. And the tickets are going to jump to $249 if right after that. So if you want to get in for $100 cheaper, give or take, today would be the day, or tomorrow, hopefully, to sign up for that and support this awesome woman of God in her endeavor. I tell you what, that was the best social media conference I've been to, and I've been to a couple. Dr. Ikena rocks it. It's her birthday. And if you're, just share this out, tag her in it, say, hey, you got a shout out, and get your ticket early. I'm going to be there. Bareface is going to be there. And I don't know who's speaking yet, but you can meet us if you want to come. And it'll be in September or early October next year. Not sure yet. Okay. So, so we're going to go ahead and play Cliff Kincaid and his interview titled Kavanaugh, the FBI, and the Deep State.
Hi, ladies and gentlemen. This is Cliff Kincaid, president of America's Survival Inc. Thanks for tuning in to another edition of America's Survival TV. Well, character counts when it comes to Brett Kavanaugh, Trump's pick for the Supreme Court, and now a big controversy over an alleged sexual assault that he carried out on a young woman back in 1982. We're going to get into another aspect of his character, one that we've focused on through America's Survival, through our broadcasts, through our reports up on our website, usasurvival.org, and that is his involvement in the cover-up of the murder of Clinton White House attorney Vincent Foster. Now, I saw before I came on the air today that Hillary Clinton is back in the news saying that, well, we've got to get the FBI to investigate whether this young woman, this Dr. Ford, she's now in her 50s, but then she was a teenager, whether her story is true. The FBI needs to investigate that, Hillary Clinton says. And, you know, both sides in this dispute are saying, yeah, we got to go to the FBI. The Democrats, the liberals are saying, let's get the FBI to investigate this issue. But on the other side, Trump and the Republicans are saying, the FBI already investigated Brett Kavanaugh. They conducted, according to Trump, 5 or 6 investigations of Brett Kavanaugh. Well, did they dig up anything about him? Can we trust the FBI? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I submit that the answer is no. We cannot trust the FBI because, you know, it was the FBI and perhaps other government agencies who were in on the cover-up of the murder of Vincent Foster. No wonder Hillary wants the FBI back on this one. We don't even know if this allegation of a sexual assault against Brett Kavanaugh was leaked to the press by the FBI, whether the FBI dug this up, leaked it to sabotage the nomination. But that's going to be a big issue for the next several days. Meantime, we're going to return to what we think is a bigger issue, that of the Vincent Foster cover-up. We've talked about it. I've got a 44-page report up on my website. We've got several other reports. We've done many broadcasts, and now we're going to bring it up again because I've found another courageous individual who's willing to talk about it. Yeah, if you watch Fox News or listen to Rush Limbaugh, you're not going to hear anything about Brett Kavanaugh's role in the Foster cover-up. They won't talk about it. They're all on board the Kavanaugh train. But here, we're independent conservatives. We put a premium on honesty and integrity. I covered the Foster case back in the 90s with Accuracy in Media chairman Reed Irvine. So we've got to go back and look at this. This is more important than what he may or may not have done, in my view, to a teenage girl back in the 1980s, because in the 1990s, Kavanaugh was a young prosecutor working for independent counsel Ken Starr on the Clinton investigations, and he authored a report saying Foster had killed himself, had shot himself in Fort Marcy Park when the evidence indicates otherwise. And how happy I was to find somebody, my guest, Garland Favorito, who had written a piece about this, who has done the diligence and the work necessary to get into the facts of this case. And we're going to talk to him right now. Garland Favorito, thanks for coming on the show with me.
Cliff, thank you so much for having me on. And it was because of you and your work and Reed Irvine back in Accuracy in Media that got me into government watchdog and exposing government corruption. That was one of the first things that I ever read, and I could not believe it. And I remember subscribing to Accuracy in Media and reading about the Vince Foster case with you and Reed. And I just simply could not believe that something of that magnitude could be covered up, particularly involving the FBI. But lo and behold, as I found out through diligent research, you and Reed were absolutely right back there, and Accuracy in Media was in fact accurate. So a lot of thanks go to you and all the work you've done for the last 25 years on this issue.
Well, thank you, Garland. And let me make a note that Garland Favorito has written about all kinds of subjects, but his specialty is the integrity of our elections. He's co-founder of a group called Voter GA, and you can go to their website, voterga.org. He's intent on maintaining the integrity and honesty of our elections, beginning in his state of Georgia. But he does believe in justice. He does believe in honesty and integrity in the political system as a whole, and in fact has written a book, and I agree with the title, Our Nation Betrayed. And I know because you have a pursuit and interest in the truth, Garland, that you wrote this particular article. We republished on our own website, Deep State, Kavanaugh covered up the murder of Vince Foster. And you conclude by referring to the Foster nomination and the controversy as a move in the deep state chess match being played by Donald Trump and Senate Democrats at the confirmation hearing. Well, there is a big political game being played here. That's true. But before we get into who's moving what chess piece and what the ultimate game is, let's talk about the Foster case in particular. And let me ask you to respond to something in Ken Starr's book. Now, Ken Starr ran the independent counsel investigation of the Clintons, and that included the Foster probe done by Brett Kavanaugh. This is Ken Starr's book. It's just come out. It's hot off the presses, as they say, and yeah, I bought a copy. It's called Contempt, a memoir of the Clinton investigation. And Ken Starr, by the way, has been all over the media vouching for the character of Brett Kavanaugh, saying he's a great guy. Yeah, he's honest. He has so much integrity. But Garland, let me read to you from Ken Starr's book and get your response based on what you've uncovered in the case. Here's what Ken Starr says in his book. Vincent Foster parked his car, locked it, walked into Fort Marcy Park, and sat down on a berm that had been a Civil War fortification. He pulled out a pistol that had been in his family for 2 generations, put the gun in his mouth, and fired. No witnesses. What do you say to that?
There's several different lies in there, Cliff, in my opinion. And the one, I think, one of the most blatant ones is the fact that he claims, and twice in his book, that he actually owns, Foster actually owned a gun. That is basically, we know that that's not true because it was a 1913 revolver. It was black in color. The only gun that Foster owned was a silver gun. And so he obviously, nobody knows who owns that gun, and why would he have used a different gun to shoot himself rather than his own gun? So that's just one of the issues in there. And Cliff, as you already know, another one is that Patrick Knowlton saw another car with Arkansas tags in that parking lot, and it was not Vince Foster's car, and he has sworn for 25 years that this was not Vince Foster's car because it was a newer model Honda and a different color than the one that he saw with Arkansas plates in the lot. So at that point in time, Foster was already dead. Could not have driven his car to the parking lot. That's another mischaracterization. In fact, I would say a blatant lie. So just that one paragraph that you read, Cliff, is loaded with false statements and deception and innuendos. So that is an indictment of Ken Starr's character as well.
Very, very good point, Garland. Garland Favorito is our guest today. We're talking about the character of Judge Brett Kavanaugh, not having to do with a 36-year-old assault allegation, but dealing with an investigation he conducted 25 years ago as a young lawyer, as a young prosecutor in the Office of Independent Counsel, Ken Starr, where he concluded, as Starr just says in his book, that Vince Foster drove himself to Fort Marcy Park, just a few minutes from the CIA headquarters in Virginia, pulled out a gun that he owned, and shot himself, killed himself in the park. And as you point out, Foster's car wasn't there. That's the point of Patrick Knowlton's testimony, Patrick Knowlton was a civilian, a bystander, just happened to be at the park. At the time, we now know that Foster's dead body was there and Foster's car was not there. So he couldn't have driven himself to the park. And furthermore, as you point out, it wasn't Foster's gun. It wasn't the family gun. It was a plant. And the prosecutor who originally was looking into the case, Miguel Rodriguez, actually wrote a report saying that some of the law enforcement people who came to the scene of the crime planted the gun in Foster's hand. And all of this, ladies and gentlemen, is not new. We've known this for many, many years. There's even a website, FBI Cover-Up with a hyphen in coverup.com available where you can see these documents. You can hear tape recorded conversations with Brett Kavanaugh as he struggles to try to justify his suicide in the park finding. And let's go on, because this is, we're going to keep talking about this, ladies and gentlemen, because this is as important or even more important. It's more important than the sexual assault allegation from 36 years ago, because we're dealing here, Garland, as you know, with the death of the highest ranking official of the federal government since JFK. And you know, let me pick your brain on this one, because you refer in your headline, Deep State, Kavanaugh covered up the murder of Vince Foster. How would you define the deep state?
Yeah, that's a great question, Cliff. Before we get there, I wanted to add to a couple of points that you just made. And it had to do, you mentioned Miguel Rodriguez. He has a report in that up on FBICoverup.com. It explains he did the investigation. He clearly found that there was a cover-up. He was pursuing that with the park police because he felt that they were involved along with the FBI. And then Ken Starr came along and shut it down. The Miguel Rodriguez report is amazing. And also up there on that site is the John Clark's document that they submitted to the Senate committee. So the Senate committee has this information. And now we get to the point of the deep state. This entire package of information that we know, and we know to be true, has been presented to every senator on the nominating committee. And yet, none of them will even bring the subject up. The only one who brought the subject up was Dianne Feinstein, but she had no concern whatsoever for whether or not Vince Foster was murdered or not. All she was concerned about whether or not Brett Kavanaugh was involved with conspiracy theorists.
Yeah.
So this is an incredible deep state, because what we have here is a nonpartisan issue. It doesn't matter how liberal or how conservative you are, whether you're a Democrat or Republican. Nobody should be murdered, and there should not be a cover-up of anyone who's murdered, regardless of what their political background is. So here we have the senators of both sides covering up the murder of Vince Foster. And that leads us to the deep state, which is obviously there's something wrong. If you've got the senators on the left, senators on the right, and you've got the news media covering up this fact and consistently trying to deceive the American people into thinking that Vince Foster had actually committed suicide. And they've used all sorts of tactics trying to claim that he was depressed and everything, which conflict with Linda Tripp and his other testimony. So you've got this, you have a conspiracy here, but it's a conspiracy against the people, and it's being conducted by the Democrats, Republicans, and the news media.
That's exactly right. And we've gotten to the nub of the issue here. What is the deep state? Well, it's certain people, it's a bipartisan group, people who are in positions of power who cover up wrongdoing by both sides. And they don't want to talk about Foster, the Democrats do, except to say, why was Brett Kavanaugh pursuing this conspiracy theory? They won't get into the fact that he actually covered up the evidence of a murder. The Republicans don't want to get into it because they like Kavanaugh. He's their guy. They want to get him on the Supreme Court. But this is the way the deep state operates. They work both sides of the aisle. And that's why I'm so astounded by the current controversy over this 36-year-old sexual assault allegation, Garland, because you got both sides saying, well, let's get the FBI involved. Let's have the FBI investigate Kavanaugh. Let's have the FBI investigate whether this happened or not. And Trump coming back and say, well, the FBI is already investigating. Well, the problem is the FBI. The problem is the FBI and the political agenda of the leadership of the FBI. I mean, didn't we just go through a big discussion, and more is coming out every day about the fact that these FBI officials, Peter Strzok and Lisa Page.
So there we go. Hello. So there you have it. There's Cliff Kincaid, and his interview about this, and you can watch the rest of it over on his YouTube channel, or just go to America's Survival Inc. Just Google ussurvival.org. Just go there. USA Survival.org. Yeah. And check it out, because you know what, Cliff Kincaid, he's been on the forefront of uncovering this stuff for a long time, and they make a really great point. I mean, they're talking about this here. They're talking about this over here when this bigger issue is over here, right? I mean, think about it. And I think one of the reasons why this is so important to bring up the whole Vince Foster thing again is because if Hillary Clinton wants to run one more time again for the president, and you never know with her because she's kind of driven, this is just one more nail in her coffin, so to speak. Okay, just saying. And it needs to be brought up. It needs to be talked about. And here's the other thing. Next month, Randall and I are going to Oklahoma. We're going down to Oklahoma for the Prophecy Watchers Conference. And one of the people that I got to interview last year that I'm looking forward to meeting with again, because he's going to be there again this year, is Bob McGinnis, who is experienced and internationally known expert on national security and foreign affairs. He is a retired lieutenant colonel of the U.S. Army, and he's also the vice president of the U.S. Maryland-based business serving the U.S. government, supervising international specialists at the Pentagon. He's also a broadcast analyst for radio, TV. He's appeared on Fox News and CNN, and his latest book, which was released last year, is called The Deeper State, which examines the secret societies that are pushing us closer and closer to the final one world empire. Yeah, they are. So the Deeper State. So we're going to get to interview Bob again about whatever the latest is he's going to talk to us about. Hopefully we'll get a full-length interview with him this time. We actually talked to him, I don't know how long it was, 10 or 15 minutes probably, when we were there last year. But this guy is on the inside. I mean, he is a genuine Pentagon insider. He knows a lot of the people that are being talked about. And so if you are in the area in the early October, just keep tuned here for Bible News Radio as we cover the Blessed Hope Prophecy Forum Conference in Oklahoma. And we're still looking to raise about $700 to help cover the cost of that trip. So if you can do that, if you're interested in helping us get there and actually helping us pay the bill so we can go and cover this conference for you, we're going to be talking to probably 30-something speakers there. There's a ton of speakers. You can learn more. Go to prophecywatchers.com to sign up. You can actually live stream it too. But ours will be exclusive only. We were invited back because Bob loves us. And even though we're Little Bible News Radio, it's just us. Little Bible News Radio is invited back for a reason, people. Because Bob and Gary know that we do good work. And we are doing it. But we got to foot the bill. They're not paying our way. They're not paying us. So we need help getting there. So if you have an extra $50 or $100 you can throw our way to help fund that, we would really appreciate it. And yes, you can donate to PayPal, our show. I know PayPal just banned Alex Jones, but we can't boycott everybody, just so you know. Anyway, you can donate at our website, BibleNewsRadio.com/give. And if you want to be a pillar of our community and make that a monthly donation, you can also set that up there as well. And we'll really appreciate that, and thank you for that in advance. Also, if you want to support our sponsor, Ariel Ministries, they rock. You get a 20% discount on anything in their store. And you can go to ariel.org and use the coupon code Bible News, or you can just go over to our resources page. Randall?
What's that?
Is it the resources page that we have the highlighted stuff from Ariel on?
Yes, we do.
Okay, so go to our resources page on our website, and the book, Israel Betrayed, that's what we're promoting this month for them. You can get that, or you can get any of the other things that we have highlighted on our resources page at BibleNewsRadio.com. Because when you support them, they support us, and there's a whole bunch of great resources there. But just make sure you use the coupon code Bible News when you check out. That way you save 20%. This is the only place, by the way, they give a discount. Ariel Ministries does. So there is that, and I think also I should tell you, those of you who care about your protection, your information being protected. I have to tell you that that when we're looking at issues, these political issues and things like that, it's really good to be protected legally, and especially with your identity. You know, one of the big misconceptions about that a lot of people have is that identity theft protection is that they already have it because your credit card is protected, right? And hey, Beth. Nice to see you in there. But you know what? ID Shield, which is what I sell, actually covers way more than that. You know, your credit card, yeah, they'll notify you of stuff, but that's not all. That's just like one little part of what ID Shield covers. ID Shield is comprehensive identity restoration. We actually provide a full service restoration by licensed private investigators from Kroll. We also have we provide the help for pre-existing identity theft restoration. So if you've already had your identity stolen, ID Shield covers that, and that will help you with that. We have a $5 million service guarantee. Hey, Marlene. And if you have a family, ID Shield family costs $24.95. It covers the 2 parents and 8 children, up to 8 kids. So 10 people get covered with ID Shield family. And we also do child monitoring with kids. And that's important because over 1 million children have had their identity stolen just last year alone. Okay, and it keeps going up. It's ridiculous. These criminals, they don't want your money as much as they want your ID in order to, steal your money. They want your identity first, though. We monitor credit, criminal and court record monitoring, internet and dark web monitoring, which is very important. That's where I get most of my alerts every day. I get like an alert every day. Payday loan monitoring, social media monitoring. If you're online, you need that for sure. Address change verification. Do you know how easy it is to change your address online and have somebody else do it? Do you? Huh? Do you? I mean, that alone, you can go to USPS and you could change my address right now if you know it. Some of you do. Go in there, change it. You click that little box that says, you swear under penalty of perjury and oath that you're not lying, blah, blah. And you can change it. And most people would never know until they stop getting their mail. With ID Shield, I will be notified right away because that's being monitored. Also, internet relay chat, online chat rooms are monitored. Local, state, federal databases are monitored. Peer-to-peer sharing networks and social feeds are all monitored with ID Shield. And there's more. I mean, you can literally put in at least 65 pieces of your information, from your health insurance cards to your credit cards to all your bank accounts. All that stuff is monitored with ID Shield for $9.95 a month. That's it, people. That's basically about $110 a year, $120 a year for all of that. And you have a mobile phone on your hand at all times. You can log in. Whenever you get alerted, you just log right in, check if you need help. You hit that phone number that's right in there to call, and they take care of it right there on the spot for you. So, just saying, be smart, people. Buy ID Shield. And, hey, here's the thing. If you want to support Bible News Radio, which is me and Bareface, but mostly me, then get ID Shield, Don't get Legal Shield. I mean, I want you to get Legal Shield, but at the minimum, get ID Shield. Pay that $10 a month, and that money that actually supports you. But that actually purchase supports Bible News Radio, because that actually helps us fund the show, because we need to pick up the money where we're not making any money. So if you guys do that, let me know. I'm actually, there's so much more. But anyway, I have Sylvia sending me a message here in the back. All right. Hey, I just have to say, a couple of people have said I'm a good salesperson, and the couple of people that have said that have not bought anything from me, just so you know. So I'm just calling you out on that. So.
All right. Did you see the comments in Facebook?
Not all of them.
All right. Just wanted to touch on those before we run out of time.
Okay.
All right.
I mean, I did respond to some of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, this is gonna look real tiny on the screen here, but let's try that again. Basically, Darren wasn't following the rebroadcast of the Cliff Kincaid's broadcast, and then how it relates to the current situation, and that was Cliff Kincaid's point, is that the relation is Brett Kavanaugh, and they're looking at him like, what's his character in regards to these, sexual assault allegations. And, the elephant in the room is that he was involved in the Vince Foster
cover-up.
Investigation cover-up. And Feinstein is so bold to say as, question along the lines of whether he's one of the conspiracists,
Right.
He's involved in the conspiracy that would claim that Vince Foster was murdered. And even though that's where the evidence led in that investigation on so many fronts. Anyway, just it doesn't matter if the Democrats are against him, Republicans for him. At the end of the day, he's in the pockets of neither, in the pocket of the deep state.
Right.
And then,
how about Bible News Radio bringing that to you people?
Yeah.
Do I get a thumbs up? Because, everybody's like, well, MAGNA and Make America Great Again. But, you guys don't be deceived about Donald Trump. He's doing good stuff, but just saying.
It's for a season. And, you may be thinking, no, deep state, that's one of these, Alex Jones conspiracy kind of things, but just think about it for a minute. We get a new president every 4 or 8 years. They may appoint a new chief of staff or, the Air Force, the Army, whatever. But when that president's gone, that cabinet's dissolved, the military leaders are still the military leaders. They may not be in the White House cabinet, but they're still the general or whatever for the Air Force. And the people, that run the FBI, it may not be the guy in the president's office, but the same employees, same agents, top down, top brass, they're all still there. Department of Agriculture, Department of Education, Department of the hundreds of others, as the presidents come and go, as the Congresses come and go, the same people are working there. Why wouldn't they...
Well, that's why Bob McGinnis is a big deal over at the Prophecy Watchers Conference.
Yeah, why wouldn't they just in normal human nature, have their good old boys club or whatever and run things the way they want to, regardless of who's in office. But then when you get, up the chain and deeper into it, there's people that aren't on the payroll of any of those departments that continue to work behind the scenes, regardless of who's in office, from the White House, to Capitol Hill, anything like that. Anyway.
Yeah. So so why is this important? Why are we covering it? Because you guys asked us on Friday. Normally I don't cover stuff like this because honestly, I think it's a waste of my time.
You've leaned back, just so you know.
Okay, I'm leaning forward. But I honestly don't cover a lot of this stuff because if the whole world is talking about this, what's the point? What are they not talking about, right?
Right.
I try to bring Christian persecution news.
It's a distraction.
I try to bring actually other stuff that's way more important. I don't try to sensationalize Bible News Radio. I'm trying to help you guys, in your faith, number one. That's Bible, the Bible part. Which I think there should be more of, by the way. But the news part is important, and of course we want to be able to address this, intelligently. So Cliff Kincaid, though, I actually have a lot of respect for him and his work because he's been around for a long time. He knows what he's talking about. He documents stuff, and he doesn't get heard on other places. I'm pretty sure, once he finds out I aired some of his show, he'll be thrilled that our audience now knows who he is. I could have just called him up and had him on the show, but I just didn't have time. But anyway, so the point is, that's why we're covering it. We're covering it because you guys want to know. In the long run, will Kavanaugh be appointed? We'll find out. I personally, this is just my opinion, I personally think that the Republican Party is wimpy. I think the GOP is yellow-bellied by and large, and I think they're men without chests, most of them. I think they're bought and paid for, and I think they are. I mean, there's some good people, though. I'm not going to say they're all that way, but I will say that if the GOP was really, if they really held fast to the Republican platform, we would have so many different things in this country, overturned. But the truth is a lot of them are rhinos, like John McCain was, just as an example. He was a yellow-bellied rhino, and who ran on his time as a prisoner of war. He wore that out to the end, and all that. In the long run, it doesn't ultimately matter that much. It doesn't. The Supreme Court is going to do whatever the heck they want to do. The very fact that a conservative Supreme Court overturned the rule of the people in this country on the issue of gay marriage tells you something. The very fact that the Supreme Court overruled, the Lawrence v. Texas thing, they basically cleared out all sodomy laws. It's like the Supreme Court is going to have to answer to God, ultimately. And the good people on the Supreme Court are few, okay? So if he ends up on the Supreme Court, will it be better than an Obama nominee or a Hillary nominee? Yeah, that's true. So, of course, we want somebody a little bit more conservative. But in the long run, like Roberts, has he always, done something conservative, even though, he was under Bush, right? The Mr. Conservative Patriot Act guy who basically put into law the Patriot Act, George W. Bush. Seriously, you guys, his family's part of the New World Order. It's like, oh yeah, the Patriot Act. Oh, yes, yeah, now you can spy on us everywhere. We give you our stamp of approval because of 911, which I believe was an inside job. Yeah, I do. Just like Rosie O'Donnell or whoever her name is does. Roseanne Barr. Who actually, I agree with Roseanne Barr on a lot, but she's like flaming liberal.
The whole Affordable Care Act. That was dying in the Supreme Court. It was failing. It wasn't afterwards challenged. We would not have had Affordable Care Act, aka Obamacare. But then Roberts gave the defendants their strategy. He said, now if this was a tax, now then it would be constitutional. Wink, wink. Well, and then they change your whole strategy, and yeah. Anyway, you can read the transcripts. There's Mr. Conservative Chief Justice Roberts, who I look at as pretty much solely responsible for.
Yeah, but I will say Trump is better than the alternative was. Okay, I will say that, and I will say that Trump, has done some good things for Christians, but I don't trust him. I don't trust Trump any more than I trusted Hillary, really. Because I know that the heart of people is deceitfully wicked above all else. Jeremiah 17:9 reminds us of that, right? Is he really a Christian? I don't know. He's still pro-gay, he's doing some good things. But the question is what we are being shown the truth? And when it comes to politics, spread and circus. That's my opinion. Which is why it's more important to be in God's Word, to understand His Word, and to take care of yourself. Politics locally is more important for you to be involved in your local politics than this, okay? You should vote. Obviously, I'm not going to tell you not to vote, but you should vote, definitely. And if you don't vote, biblically as much as possible, then that will harm you. But I wouldn't get suckered into all of this liberal media garbage that they're putting out there, because I bet you they didn't actually do this. From Chicago, I'm your mama. Yeah, I am. Go to bed, mister. It's past your bedtime. No. Anyway, yeah, so just be careful, right? Just be wise as a serpent, innocent as doves. Don't cast your pearls before swine. Don't get all angry about the issues that are going on. Enjoy it for the show that it is, because it is a show, you guys. Just saying, it's a show. Just like, well, I mean, this is a show, but I'm not a bought and paid for show. That would be funny if I was. Anyway, don't forget, sign up for ID Shield with me. You can contact me directly. Let's get you covered so that you're protected, because you know what, you guys, identity theft is on the rise, and it's worse. And so if you love what we do, support us that way or donate to us. And tomorrow, you guys, we'll be back. Yeah, we will. Unless somebody offs us in the meantime, which you never know. Am I a pastor? No, I'm not a pastor. I've been accused of being one, but no, I'm not. I am not a prophet. I'm not a crook. And I'm not a cook either. By the way, if you watched my last show, then you'd know that I actually messed onion rings up. Yeah, I did. Hey, but I am a pickleball player, and I had a lot of fun this morning, just so you know. Anyway, in all seriousness, I hope you guys... Yeah, it's hard to take this show seriously, huh? Anyway, have a good rest of your night, everybody. If you have any questions, comments, you want us to cover anything else, let us know. We'll be back tomorrow at 4 o'clock Central Time, as always. Remember, be bold, stand up, and go with God, because He loves you. Yeah, He does. We'll see you soon.